this side of the table.
His men are averaging a Juzamjin.
Some of them are. It's because some of them are bigger than a Juzamjin.
That is a wow.
Wait, what's he looking for here? Gonna play the Gleam Crawler?
That is not a small man either.
Huh?
6'6" trampler comes down. Like, yeah, he fits on the board.
Bigger than
About the
almost
same size.
everybody.
He trades for 2 of those.
I had Gleam Crawler in our draft last night. That guy just hits the board sometimes, and he just shuts everything down. Usually he's much bigger than everybody else.
Right.
But
Osawa
he
shoves into the red zone.
He's not scaring Osawa here.
No. Does Brockman have a profitable block here? I mean, Gleam Crawler can eat the Rootkin, or it can eat the Gore Clan Savage. Meanwhile, Brockman can only let one of these creatures hit, so he's pretty much obliged to block with all 3 of his creatures. Can he do anything with the other 2 blocks?
I think he's just throwing guys in the graveyard and hoping for something.
Well, he can. Dousing Shaman plus Seal of Fire can take down Streetbreaker Worm, right? Yeah, that's the play. Meanwhile, Brockman, he's the counter over, and he's got the charge. So, game 1 goes to Takuya Osawa. Uses the Cytoflash Rootkin's ability to turn it into 4 power. That was the one that Brockman had to let hit, and that dropped into 4, and Char was good enough. Takuya Osawa leads 1-0. 20 power worth of creatures. Wow.
With 4 points of burn.
And a Char in his hand.
Yeah, and he had another, a lot of instant speed creatures in his hand too. I mean, he
never even got around to casting.
He wasn't even out of gas.
No, never even got around to casting the scatter. It was interesting. I thought Osawa's draw was really weak. He went land.
Well, he drew the top of his curve.
Yeah.
And he was sort of scuffling for red for a little while there, and then. I mean, that's the thing. I've had that a couple times where you have, like, I had triple Streetbreaker Worm, double Golgari Rotworm, and the deck would just be like, all right, I'm getting beaten, and then you'd be like, giant guy. And Charlie's like, I don't know, I can't get in there, and then you'd be like, giant guy, and they're like, I still can't get in there, and I don't have a good block here, and they're like, all right, everyone blocks, and all right, I have a trick, and then those guys are so big at 5, and they really, it's just quick enough that they're able to really turn the game around. Streetbreaker Worm. I mean, that used to be Crawl Worm. A limited staple. Costs 5 now.
Meanwhile, the number 1 seed coming into this top 8, Rasmus Seabass, he's in one of the side drafts over the side events area. He's a gamer.
Well, he drafts nonstop. He's always he's away from his precious Magic Online, right?
He's out there with the funny paper cards.
These feel weird.
He's playing right next to Sam Gummersall, apparently. Probably, some DTs kicking in at that table. How do you run 2 drafts at the same time with paper? How does that work? Can't really do it.
No.
Maybe a swivel chair and a adjacent table.
And I'm sure Sam has run the. I mean, I've definitely seen him run the IRL draft and the online draft. He was hilarious during the Invitational.
Right. Last year, where he'd be playing the Invitational match with the side draft running in the background.
So you're heading to the Invitational right after this, right?
I am. I get on the plane tomorrow. Me and a bunch of the players that are here. 14 of the 16 Invitationalists played in this tournament, so a bunch of us. I think there's 2 flights. There's like one through Amsterdam and one through Frankfurt, maybe. Headed to LA. The Invitational is Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of this week.
I'll be joining you guys digitally.
Oh, you're doing the live commentary.
I'm gonna be providing the play-by-play in Magic Online, but I get to stay home and do it. I couldn't. I don't know how you're doing it. It's a long trip.
I mean, I had to go back to the West Coast anyway.
It's okay.
It's if you haven't seen the Invitational before, it's on Magic Online, and you can't watch the games be played live. But what happens is that as soon as the game ends, you can watch the replay. Meanwhile, we'll pick one game each round, and you will be able to watch that one live, sort of, by watching BDM's words. As he'll be watching it and typing out play-by-play.
I'll be telling you basically whether or not you want to watch the replay.
So it should be a lot of fun. There's usually, many hundreds, maybe upwards of 1,000 people sort of hanging out on Magic Online watching the Invitational. I think it's always sort of a fun scene, and you see the pros sort of getting in the room chat, mixing it up from time to time. So it should be a lot of fun. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Basically runs 9 to 5 West Coast time of the U.S.
All right. What format are you looking forward to the most?
Those auction decks are crazy. I mean, that's what people have been talking about. The auction of the geniuses, they're calling. The format was classic Vanguard. In other words, pick a Vanguard avatar and then build a deck out of any of the cards that have ever been published on Magic Online. So you can play with Mirage cards, you can play with Skull Clamps, you can play with anything that's on Magic Online. It's a crazy format. And then the whole Vanguard twist means these guys are all talking, trying to figure out what are the good decks. There's some, like Steve Menendian built this combo deck that's capable of first turn kills. And then on top of that, there's an auction. So you've got to figure out how many cards, how much life are you willing to bid for these crazy decks.
That's actually my favorite part of the Invitational.
The auction?
The auction. I love the auction.
That's the first thing we do. Tuesday night, when most of the players get to LA on Monday, and then Tuesday night we get together for the auction before we all go out to dinner.
Right. Sadly, that's the only part that doesn't get. You can't watch that part online, but I'm sure
it's going to be written up. Zv's
going to be doing
and also Mike Turian.
Oh wow!
The two of them will be tag teaming.
Wow, that's a super team. So and then just there's always lots of funny stuff. The way the bidding works is people bid with hand size and card size.
Right.
And you can get stuck with a 5-card starting hand if you're not careful.
Yep.
So we're back to the action though. If Two Forests is considered action.
One mulligan from Aaron.
Looks like a Utopia Sprawl, and it's coming down on the other side of the table very slowly.
I assume Lasalle was trying to figure out what color to name. What did he say?